All right, folks, I want to honor your time, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Thomas Taylor. I'm the school system superintendent for Montgomery County. I grew up in Montgomery County, and I'm proud to be a Montgomery County resident. I went to Montgomery County Public Schools, and I believe I'm the first superintendent from Montgomery County to graduate from Montgomery County Public Schools. I'm delighted tonight to join you for a little bit of time this evening to talk about our budget process, share a little bit of information, and more importantly, to hear from you about the things that are important to you in this budget process and things that you would like to see MCPS focus on in the future. And maybe even that doesn't come with a price tag. Maybe you just have a great idea that you want to share with us. I have a few things that I want to share up front, but I promise you I'm going to keep it super brief because I really want to get to your comments, and we only really have an hour together tonight. So I want to make the most of it. If you can see my screen, you've got a slide in front of it that says fiscal year 2027 operating budget listening session. The majority of our time tonight will be about listening to you, not about hearing from me. Um, but I do want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've heard so far in gathering information for this budget. In just 3 weeks, I'm going to be presenting a draft budget to the Board of Education for their consideration. They are going to do a lot of public meetings and get a lot of feedback from the public based on that recommendation. But before I put that recommendation out, I really want to hear from you about the things that are important and hear from other people in MCPS. And I've been doing just that for the last several months. I also heard from the Board of Education the things that were important to them. They were very clear with me that they wanted to see me propose a budget that focused on mathematics support, that focused on reducing class size, and that had a better look at staffing, that had a more intentional look at educational support staff and safety and security, as well as wellness and mental health and closing gaps with some of our students with disabilities and our English language learners. We do have a budget process, and how that budget process goes is really where we are right now, which is hearing from you in the community about the things that matter to you and that are important to you. Last night, I was at Springbrook High School and had a great conversation with folks. I'm gonna retell some of the fun things I learned from them as the evening goes on. And tonight we're here virtually, and tomorrow I'll be at Northwest High School and have an opportunity to talk to folks. So if you just can't get enough of our budget conversation, you can join me tomorrow. But there are also a ton of other opportunities to talk about the school system's budget throughout the month of January and into mid-February when the Board of Education will take tentative action on it. Some things that you'll see in this budget already that I know that I want to carry forward from last year. I wish I could tell you that we're out of the woods with some of the employee benefits plan issues that we had last year and that were carried over from the last several years. The reality is that we have an underfunded benefits plan, and we need to make sure that that is solvent. We need to make sure that we're offering a competitive wage to our employees. The good news with that is that all of our union contracts, the economics, have already been negotiated and were set last year. So there's actually not a whole lot to do in terms of calculating a lot in the employee benefits plan or the employee compensation issue, but there is a lot to do in terms of funding it. Something that we added last year that I hope comes up in the conversation tonight is how we might differentiate resources to schools that need it most. We came up with a very different model for how we look at materials and supplies budgets at schools. And I can tell you that it is already making a difference on our school campuses this year. I'm hoping that we can enhance that. If you spent any meaningful amount of time in some of our schools, you know that the facility maintenance really needs a boost, and that this is something that really has kind of fallen by the wayside in recent years. I'm not proud of that. I'm not happy to report that MCPS's facilities are not in stellar condition. But if you've had a building built in the last several years, it's probably in great condition. But if your building was built like most of our buildings in the 70s, 60s, 80s, or 90s, it's in pretty rough shape and needs a lot of love. Um, School-based safety positions is something that was a priority for the Board of Education, but is also a priority for us to making sure that we have a safe and welcoming learning environment for schools. Uh, we don't really have a ton of safety and security support at our elementary schools or even at some of our middle schools. So this is really an opportunity for us to enhance that. Something that's been worrying us um, recently is what on earth is going on with the U.S. Department of Education and what impact that might have to some of the federal funds that we receive and what we need to do in terms of creating a backup plan to address anything that might happen in that space. Beyond the things that I already kind of know are going to be a part of the budget process, we've heard a lot from members in our community and from a lot of organizations, whether they be our PTA or whether they be our Chamber of Commerce or whether it be a group of parents that just wanted to meet or a group of teachers or one of our labor associations, that there are some really significant priorities that we need to make sure are addressed in the budget. Mathematics and literacy, how we look at staffing, support for special education, how we train our staff, and making sure that we have high quality professional development that actually helps improve outcomes, facility maintenance, a reoccurring theme, and accountability measures. Something else that popped up last night was how we look at our students who have ADHD and have other needs that are covered under the 504 provision. So a lot of rich conversation we've heard already, but now's the time for us to hear from you and not to hear from me. I'm way more interested in what you have to say and less interested in what I've already shared. You've seen some reoccurring themes, but I would love to hear from you whether one of those ideas made a lot of sense to you and you were like, yeah, we absolutely need to focus on math and literacy, or yes, we absolutely need to focus on facility maintenance. Or if you have another idea of something that we should be more attentive to, now's really the time to hear it. So how this works is if you use your hand raise tool on Zoom, you can let us know that you would like to unmute and speak, and we'll unmute you and give you a chance to say a few thoughts, share an idea, and let us know if we're on the right track or if we're on the wrong track. And then we'll go from there and hear from as many folks as we can tonight. We've got 60 some odd people on the call. I will say that we're going to go until 7:30, and if we don't quite make it to folks and folks feel like they don't have their answer to their question, I'm going to ask you to drop it in the chat at the end of the evening, and we'll collect those questions and come up with some answers and post them online. Or if you just have a comment, we'll just post that online. This really isn't a Q&A time period per se, but if you've got something that I can help answer, I'll do my very best. This is really more about budget ideas and ways that you think can make the school system a better place. And so with that, we're going to go to folks that have their hand raised, and I'm going to get some assistance from the folks that are helping with the webinar. And it looks like Stephanie, you are up first, and would love to know what you want to focus on the budget, and tell us your great ideas.
Hi, I have a student in fourth grade and in sixth grade, Tilden and Garrett Park Elementary. And my concern is figuring out Canvas and trying to find all the assignments for my kid in middle school has been a nightmare. And it takes like 45 minutes each night. clicking through each and every single class to try and find each and every single assignment and make sure that they're turned in on time. Um, what kind of system improvements that you guys can make? I'm sure it's financial um, with the
Not
software
always.
system,
Yeah.
um, but it's so frustrating to spend that kind of time every single night to help him find his assignments and make sure they're all turned in on time. And
Stephanie, thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me more.
he is an ADHDer, so it's helping him keep track of everything is a struggle as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Um, yeah, thank you, Stephanie. That's a great suggestion. And candidly, that's not something that has that's been elevated before. So thank you for speaking up for a lot of other folks who I'm sure share the same frustration. I halfway wonder before we let you go back into the group here, and we go to the next person. Would some kind of like one sheet of instructions that we sent home in backpacks or via email, would something like that be helpful, or are you looking for something else?
It could be, but part of the problem is that every single teacher does it differently.
Yeah, multiple teachers, different
So
approaches, different styles. I got
with
it.
7 teachers, it's like, or, I wouldn't expect him to have an assignment online for guitar. Lo and behold, he did, and then was late and missed the the went past the due date and the deadline and couldn't turn it in. It's just like
Well,
it's a
mental
mess.
note, I need to give a gold star to that guitar teacher for assigning homework, but absolutely, we need to do a better job of finding a better system so that you can see them easily. And I think that there are some pieces in Canvas that can do that. So thank you so much, Stephanie. I really appreciate you elevating that issue.
Thank
Uh,
you.
we're going to move on to the next person. We'd love to hear your budget ideas or suggestions on how to make the school system a better place. Even if it doesn't have a budget component, it still might be something that could help the school system. So, um, team, do we have somebody who's in the queue? Looks like Jasper Chen is next up. Jasper, go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and unmute Jasper. Can we do that?
Working on it. Eric, are you able to do that? I'm
There we
not.
go.
Hello.
All
There's
right, Jasper, you're up.
Hi, Dr. Taylor. My name is Jasper Chen, and I'm an eighth grade student at PAL and a student athlete who hopes to play tennis in college. I really
Very
like
cool.
all the ideas you proposed, but I think you're missing something in the budgeting for the online academy.
Okay.
It's brought back, but it's really rigid with limited asynchronous and AP options. So I was just wanting to know how Montgomery County can build a stronger, more flexible online program so that all students, whether for sports, health, or family reasons, can get a full and fair education.
Jasper, that's a great suggestion. And I don't think that we can have a future that's gonna be without some kind of online component of some kind. So I think that there's a lot of room for improvement in making an investment in online, something that I think that we're very interested in exploring that we haven't explored yet as a school system is how we might do distance learning, which is a little bit different than the online learning that you're used to, but effectively having students at different schools access a classroom that may be in one of our high schools that's taught at the same time and it be a very synchronous experience. One of the things that we've struggled with in the school system is we have a great class. It's an elective or a very popular class for only a few students, but we still want to run that class, but there aren't enough students at one school, but there are enough students at another school. How can we leverage both of those things at the same time? And I think the answer might be an online solution. So that's something I know that we're looking at as a potential solution, and we may be even trying to get something off the ground this upcoming school year. So Thank you, Jasper, and good luck with the tennis, but I wish you better luck with your academics first. Mr. Cram, do we have the next?
Yes, we do. I'm promoting, it looks like she's promoted already. Amber Lesenowich, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we unmute Amber?
Hello.
Amber.
Yes, hi. My name is Amber Lesnevich, and I am a teacher at Einstein, and I'm also the parent of an 8th grader at Silver Creek Middle School.
Awesome.
And one of the things that I would love to see in the budget is a budget for copiers.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's something silly, but
It's
I
not
teach
silly.
I teach a lot of ELD students and students with IEPs and 504s, and they do a lot better with paper than they do for Canvas, to kind of echo earlier comments. And our copiers, they're old girls, and they don't like to staple anymore. So sometimes I spend 2 planning periods just photocopying for one of my classes. So if we could get some new copiers, I would love that.
Well, and Amber, some of them don't like to copy anymore either.
No, they are very
Fortunately.
sensitive souls.
They are, and your side hustle as a copy repair person is much appreciated because every teacher absolutely has to have some sort of copy repair certification as a prerequisite. For those of you who aren't acutely aware of Amber's struggle, one of the challenges that educators today have is how do we meet the varied learning needs of different learning styles in the classroom? And sometimes the classrooms can be very diverse with learning needs, and what works for one student may not work for another student. And so Amber coming up with a different strategy for a group of students who work better and more tactile with paper is brilliant. And so thank you for elevating this, Amber. This has not been something that's popped up in other conversations, but making sure that we've got a great replacement cycle for our copiers makes a whole lot of sense. Whole lot of sense.
And Thomas, if I may, Amber, if you're willing to let us know what school, put it in the chat or say it. We do have folks that can repair those copiers.
Oh, I'm very good friends with the copy repair folks. We've
Oh,
chatted at length.
okay, all right.
But I can promise you that every teacher at every school would kiss the ground that MCPS walks on if we got new copiers.
It's a small thing, but a huge thing at the same time. Thank you so much, Amber. Great suggestion.
Thank you.
Right.
We do
Who's
have somebody in
next?
the queue, but I can't read their name, Thomas. It's in Chinese, I believe.
Okay. Well, let's unmute and let's go from there.
You are unmuted. You have your hand raised.
Yes,
There, go
thank
ahead.
you. Hi, Dr. Taylor. Thank you
Hi.
for this opportunity. I do have some questions regarding the regional models.
Okay.
It seems like regional models are being implemented without community feedbacks. And among all the regions, Region 5 has the biggest changes and uncertainties, right? Given the crown, and it's, it seems like this could be a event, but we do feel, some of us do feel, we've been shifted around to satisfy the needs from surrounding neighborhoods such as Crown and Woodland communities. And our up-county has unique challenges in some of those schools. We could have potential overcrowding issue, such as Queen's Orchard, while some of the communities still being shifted from Northwest to Queen's Orchard. So we have tons of change. We not only are changing middle school, high school, and the regions, and over 90% of programs in Region 5 need to be built from scratch. How do we ensure sufficient budget for launching those programs and providing all necessary resources and funding to train teachers, especially considering the potential lapse in federal funding piece?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Can I take this one first and then go to your next one?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. There's a lot that the Board of Education has to consider this spring. A lot. Probably the biggest and most meaningful question that the board has to consider is any adjustments to attendance boundaries. I got to tell you, I've done a half dozen of these in other places, and they all share a similar characteristic of being really emotional and really challenging because people are connected to their school community, and it is hard when there is even the slightest change in articulation. And what I mean by articulation is where you go from elementary to middle to high. And one of the pain points that we have in MCPS is that there's no way to avoid split articulation, meaning that if you go to a middle school, you may go to a different high school than other people that go to the same middle school. And if you go to an elementary school, you may go to a different middle school than people in your same school. And part of the reason is when you have 25 high schools and 40 middle schools, it doesn't divide evenly. And when you have 137 elementary schools, it further doesn't divide evenly. And so these attendance boundaries do make a difference in terms of what that articulation looks like. And if you're on the edge or the cusp of one area that could be shifted up or down, it's a roller coaster ride that candidly I don't think is going to settle until a final recommendation is made and a final decision is evaluated by the Board of Education. With that, and looking at the boundaries of our schools, it's a really good idea to evaluate what kind of programmatic offerings you have at that time. And the reason why it's a good idea to look at that is because whatever the size of your program is that you have at a school, it's going to inform how many students you can fit in that school and therefore what the size of that attendance boundary should look like. So if you have a program that's very large, your attendance boundary might be a little bit smaller. If you had a program that was very small, maybe your attendance boundary could be a little bit bigger. So those things are connected. In terms of budget, standing up academic programs is not nearly as expensive as running our transportation system. And so a big question that the board will have to consider and think about is, one, how do we make the educational environment better and provide opportunities to students across the county, not just in one area of the county or another area of the county? How do we do that efficiently? One of the things that I've suggested, and I stand by this, I think that this is the right approach for a county our size, is to have some sort of regional delivery model for not just academic programs, but also other operational services as well. Everything from food service to transportation contained within a regional environment does make things a lot easier and a lot more efficient and a lot more cost effective for sure. Even standing up new programs in terms of cost is relatively small. In this upcoming budget, even if we were to launch a bunch of programs, the personnel cost would be less than $1 million for the entire county, maybe $2 million if you really wanted to stretch it. And in a $3.6 billion budget with a fund balance of near $30 million, we can cover that. And I feel pretty confident in that. It's the transportation piece that I definitely would want to enter into with some trepidation and with some real focus, and to make sure that if we were going to provide something to students, that we could transport them from point A to point B. MCPS has a really spotty history of being able to provide transportation for some programs, but not other programs. And there really isn't any rhyme or reason as to why that is. And I think we can do a much better job than what we're doing right now. One of the big weaknesses of some of the programs that we've stood up in the past is that we actually haven't resourced them the way that they should be. Some programs that are even really successful, I still don't think are resourced properly. And this could be a great opportunity for us to get it right and potentially for us to extend a lot of equitable access to lots of different parts of the county that otherwise didn't have some. So you mentioned Region 5 in particular. And candidly, there is a spot in Region 5 that is program rich. And then there are spots in that region that are not program rich that really could benefit from a little bit more diversity of attendance from different parts of the county, and we'd like to offer that. I do think it's affordable in terms of relative cost for other things that we might do. Truthfully, that's not entirely where our focus should be. Our focus should really be on creating great schools in every corner of the county, not just regional programs. But one of the things that we can do to enhance those great schools in every part of the county is to give a little special something to everybody. So great question. Did you have a follow-up question?
Thank you. Yes, I do. I do share some of those concerns in terms of long-term transportation, etc. Just to clarify, I'm from Diamond Elementary School cluster. Our current high school belongs to Northwest, which is Region 6. And if we were shifted to other, Queen's Orchard or Crown, will be Region 5. There are lots of uncertainties. And
a lot of uncertainties, yes.
While building a lot of the new programs is very challenging and risky, we wonder if it's possible to adopt a phased transition. For example, let current Region 5 communities have access to Region 6, like Northwest STEM program. That's what a lot of the communities, the reason they moved to this community, they had their mindset on those programs, well-established programs, for example. And if you look at Region 6 alone, it's huge. And some of those people, up north part of the Region 6 is extremely far away from, let's say, Poolsville, while they could be benefited going to Region 5. So between Region 5 and 6, there are unique challenges compared to, say, Region 4, that's more close. So I wonder if at least those two regions, if not all, we could have so-called build region without walls between those.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea. I think long term we're probably better off to stand up something a little closer to home for more kids. But I will tell you this: the longer that I've done this, I don't think that there is really any bad idea that's not worth further exploration, and that all ideas are really on the table. So I just really appreciate you elevating that as a potential. It's definitely something that other folks had mentioned as well, and something that we're looking into. I think we can do a good job of standing up separate opportunities and do it really well and make it really high quality. But just really appreciate you elevating that. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the great ideas.
So, Thomas, we don't have a hand up right now, but we do have some questions in the chat. Can I go to a couple of those for you?
Yeah, let's do a question in the chat, but I do want to encourage folks, if you're up for it, to put your hand up in the Zoom as well. But yeah, let's go for a question. Chris, we'll take whatever's up.
Well, we do have a couple of hands coming up, but
okay, let's go to the hands
first. Yeah, Amanda Levin, we're gonna open it up to you. And you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for doing this. My name is Amanda Levin. I have a fourth grader and kindergartner at Rachel Carson Elementary. I actually have a peer support group for moms of neurodiverse kids in the greater Washington area. We have about 600 moms in the group, 300 of which are in Montgomery County. So I get to hear a lot of the frustrations that moms are facing in the special education community. One thing that we're dealing with as a challenge is there are many children who, whether they're in special ed or general education, sometimes have emotional regulation challenges, and sometimes the teachers aren't as equipped to deal with those circumstances. So I was wondering if when you guys are doing or coming up with ideas for professional trainings, like, can that be incorporated into a training, like using the declarative language handbook or training on, how to de-escalate emotional deregulation situations?
Amanda, I may have more questions for you than you have for me. I think this is great. And yes, that has come up for sure. And I have actually a couple ideas to run by you.
Sure.
And for whatever it's worth, Amanda, I think you've had a couple people uh, throw in a request to join your group in the chat. I saw
Wonderful.
a couple of comments pop up really quick. So you may want to look at that after
Yeah, sure.
this little segment here. But um, so yes, for professional development, I think that this has been a real weakness of ours in the school system and something that we are looking at investing in a couple of spaces. One, we definitely need to invest in content-based professional development. If we've got high quality curriculum, we need to teach teachers how to leverage the high quality curriculum. That's one thing. We need to also do a better job on tier one instructional strategies in terms of how our kids can access through really effective teaching practices. The third
Mhm.
one is some of that behavior management and dealing with our students with disabilities in a much better way than how we have in the past, and how to leverage support when you have it and what to do when you don't. And I actually think that this has been maybe one of the more gaping holes that we have as a school system. I think that MCPS used to have a much better reputation in terms of serving students with disabilities and neurodivergent children than it does today. And I think we've let a couple of practices slip, and we really haven't kept up with some of the modern thinking on how to address exactly what you're talking about. Um, the extreme behaviors don't always require a direct discipline.
Right.
We might think, and maybe require a lot more, redirection. uh,
Right.
and, and support. And we maybe have misinterpreted that along the way. So I just want to thank you for that. The idea that I want to run by you is really more about what you think makes sense or what your group has seen to be
Yeah.
effective.
Hmm.
And if you have any recommendations on things that you all have felt like have been more effective than others.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge is, some behaviors, like, of course, when you want to keep everyone in the school safe, like, I think, unfortunately, people jump to kind of like immediate, removal, seclusion, restraint kind of option, and maybe not recognizing like signs in advance to sort of get ahead of a situation. So there are trainings and tools with groups like PDA North America that does excellent trainings for schools. I know there's a group called the Rooted Child. She does trainings with schools on how to work, in these behaviorally sensitive situations. There's also a great book that I don't know if require certain books to be read during professional development, but there's one called the Declarative Language Handbook. And any of these tools that, are good for students with these sensitive nervous systems and behavioral challenges work for all kids, so I just think it would be an excellent investment in the future. And just, I think there's a lot of frustration that the parents feel when, there are many moms that are having to quit like high paying, high powered jobs because their kids are having to do the homeschool model because they can't find the right place for them within the system, which is really sad.
Yeah, I agree. And candidly, we need to do a much better job with
Yeah,
that.
I
And
appreciate that. I appreciate your recognition of that.
yeah, the placement practices are not as sharp as they should be. So it will look very generic in the budget that I put out publicly that'll say something like just professional development.
Yeah.
You need to know that that'll be in there. Something else that you can look at as an artifact of an investment in special education, something I've heard a lot from our elementary team, is what are we doing in terms of para support in kindergarten classrooms before kids
Mm-hmm.
are identified? It's number one.
Sure.
And then number two, what does the resource teacher situation look like in elementary school for special education? It's near a nightmare when a highly impacted classroom has to have a substitute, and it's not
Right.
somebody who has the background or expertise, or when there isn't a resident expert in the school that really does understand the IEP process and
Yes.
can help with some of the paperwork. So you're going to see those things represented in the budget as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate what you're doing and, keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amanda. Next in the queue is Mel Lux Travel.
All right, Mel, thank you so much for joining us today. What's your great idea?
Hi, Taylor. How are you today? My name is Ashley, and I have a seventh grader at Silver Spring International. And so I just wanted to get more information or to figure out how we can get more money for tutoring.
Oh,
Um, my daughter, I've had to pay on my own for my daughter to do tutoring twice a week for math and English. And just by doing that for an hour, she has already increased her math grade to an A, and also increased her assessment for the state assessment. So, um, as I see on your website, you only have a few schools in areas that only offer tutoring. I would just like to see more offerings for tutoring, especially for African American students, as they are usually the lowest, and also for Hispanics, usually the lowest when it comes to state standards and trying to increase their math and English literacy scores.
Ashley, thank you so much for chiming in. One of the most effective strategies for coming out of the pandemic was high impact, high dosage tutoring. And I think that we've been reticent as a school system to make that investment, but I really appreciate your call to do so. It is one of those strategies that has a high return on investment, and you've called it out perfectly. Some of our lowest performing student groups would really benefit from this, and we don't have a great framework. So thank you for elevating it. It's a great idea. Really appreciate you taking time out to be with us tonight to share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Is Shannon Cisco. Shannon, we're unmuting. Oh, there you go. Go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, we lost Shannon for a second.
Yeah. Oh, we're fixing it.
Oh, now we're back with Shannon.
Okay.
Welcome back to the party, Shannon. What's your great
Hi.
idea?
Thank you again for having this. This is great. And just a little background, as you know, or might not know, my name is Shannon Cisco. I'm deeply invested in MCPS. I'm the mother of a recent MCPS graduate who is now an alumni of Carnegie Mellon.
Awesome.
And I currently have an 11th grader, a 7th grader, a 3rd grader, and I also work with community schools in a middle school. So I am like, I see it all on both sides. So I know I get to see the teacher side as well as being the parent side. So when I bring to you, I guess the question, concern, and support for your, I call it like a little broccolini to the budget, increasing, like, we have consistent, frequent classroom disruptions. We have a lot of students, that have that severe dysregulation, both in my personal experience and as a parent, and, as staff as well. I'm seeing that kind of those room clearing moments to give those students that, as someone had mentioned before, and this could already possibly be in the plan, but
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to elevate was having it not attached to the IEP,
Okay.
not attached to the special education program. So that way, those are freestanding, either paraeducators, support staff that could help those moments. Because what I am noticing is the students that are being moved, there's no follow up. So those students are having to reprocess, and that normacy is, it's normal for a stapler to be thrown across the room. It's normal that we just had to get up in the middle of our spelling test and leave the room. So they're having a really hard time being able to kind of regroup, and we're finding a lot of holes. And, you know, part of that tutoring that mom had stated too, it's what we're doing. So a lot of the parents, I know myself, we have groups in our own cluster. I'm in the QO cluster. Not only just elementary, middle, and high, we have high schoolers helping middle schoolers and middle schoolers helping elementary schoolers because, hey, we didn't really get much learning this week. We had a lot of dysregulation that they needed support with. And the staff are doing amazing. The staff are trying, and it's just a lot. And I don't know how we could find the budget to help support that, but I know when it's attached to an IEP, the student has to be tested, and that testing process takes time. And then they have to do the paperwork, and then it has to go through this process. So it does take time, and then you get approved funding. Whereas if we had some freestanding support, it might be a little bit different. So I just wanted to...
I hear you. And Shannon, what a great synthesis of Amber's comments and Ashley's comments together. Because something that I'm very frustrated by, and I'm sure you are too, and every parent is, why do I have to pay for tutoring just so that I can keep my kid at a certain level when really the classroom environment just needs to be a certain way to support my kid and to keep them on track? That may be the question of the day. And so I'm fascinated actually by the idea of the freestanding support. Something that I've noticed at MCPS, and granted, I've only been back for, I don't know, 500 and some odd days. But I've noticed that we really don't have a lot of general education para support. And, you know, a great para is worth their weight in gold in terms of being able to step in and help with the situation. And sometimes you just need an extra set of hands, and that extra set of hands can save a kid from going down a really dark lane, and can also save the rest of the classroom and keep them on track. So, you know, maybe it's time. Maybe this is the focus that we need to have is being able to have more adults with hands on deck that can provide that extra support, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yes, no, that's exactly it. Being able to provide that support, and it also provides staff morale.
Yeah.
So we also have the staff not getting burned out because they're getting that support immediately and not just having to pull admin from admin stuff.
Yeah. Well, Shannon, thank you for sticking with us, and your commitment of multiple kids across multiple schools, including yourself, is admirable. So thank you for doing that too. And I hope we honor your next 9 years of MCPS with improvement every year. So thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Shannon. Next in the queue is Narissa Johnson, and we're moving you up so you can talk. Give it a try.
Thank you.
Narissa
Good
Johnson.
evening, everyone.
Hey,
Nice to hear from you. And I'd like to start off by thanking all the parents who've been talking about the special ed situation. There's a lot to understand and learn, and I appreciate, everything that people have raised. My ask or my idea is something that was raised to me by Media Services Tech.
Okay.
He wanted to know, it seems very unreasonable that the budget for maintaining an auditorium at a school comes directly from the school.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a school situation, a PTSA that is very active in that school and can help fundraise, purchase equipment, that's not an issue. But for schools that don't have active PTAs, PTSAs, and there's no supplemental funding from that part, it puts a lot of strain on the school. And, some of these schools host a lot of events, not just plays and musicals, but external events. And I don't know if there's a way to track which schools host most of these external events, but it does seem like there's a lot of pressure on the school to maintain this expensive equipment and they don't necessarily have the funds to do it.
So I've got a couple of thoughts, and I really appreciate you elevating that. And there are schools that host a lot more events. Every year, I have a meeting with administrators at Seneca Valley High School in the summertime. And the reason I have it at Seneca Valley High School is because it is the only space that I can fit all of the school administrators and MCPS in one place. There is a school in the middle of the county. I think you've heard of it, Narissa. It's where we host summer school graduation every year. It's Wheaton High School. It's got this beautiful auditorium. I'm joking because those of you who don't know, Narissa's from Wheaton High School and has been repping Wheaton High School for a while.
Yes, he has to stay on my good side.
Yes. Well, but the reality is just that, is that there are schools that do get wear and tear, and what does that look like? So here's the thing that I think that we don't do very well and how I think we can fix it. Every one of our building has assets. It's full of assets, whether it's a computer screen or whether it's a projector or whether it's an auditorium curtain, very expensive, or whether it's a chair in an auditorium or a cafeteria table. All of those assets have a useful life. They are going to break at some point. They're going to get old. They're going to fray. They're going to go out of use at some point. And the smart way to think about those assets is to start planning for their replacement the year that you buy them. And that hasn't been something that we have done in a really, really long time. So every time that we buy a brand new auditorium curtain, we should be thinking about what we need to do when we need to replace that auditorium curtain. And every time that we buy a set of desks and chairs, we need to be thinking about how long that set of desks and chairs is going to last and what the planning needs to look like in terms of replacing those desks and chairs every year. So that is what I think the task is at hand. And I don't think that it should be the school's responsibility because candidly, I don't think they can afford it. And this is also why you sometimes see a lot of haves and have-nots in Montgomery County, where there's a fundraising effort at one school, stuff just gets fixed and replaced. And when there's not that fundraising effort at a school, the stuff that the school system should be picking up the tab for doesn't get fixed or replaced. So I think it really is in our interest as a school system to really think about the true cost of what it takes to maintain and run the school system and then budget for it incrementally every year. So I think you're going to see that in a couple of places in this budget, but I think it's a meager effort compared to what the real issues are going to look like. But to make life a lot easier for your media tech, I appreciate you elevating this one because this hasn't come up in previous conversations, and I know that they would appreciate it. And I learned something new about MCPS every day. And this is something that I learned new today about how we're financing auditorium equipment replacement. So I'm sorry to hear that, but I know that we can probably do a better job and take that off of their to-do list.
All right. Thank you, Narissa. Thomas, next we're going back to Mel. Lux Travel has another question.
Yeah, Ashley, you're up.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to give you another follow-up question
Please.
about immersion programs.
Yes.
One of the things that I ran into, I know that you've already done an evaluation for two-way immersion. One of the things that I ran into with my daughter is when she took two-way immersion since first grade. She went to middle school in sixth grade, but wasn't really prepared. So as she's not prepared, hasn't learned most of the items from elementary, she had to transition or go to a regular Spanish class. So this in turn hurt my daughter because she started since first grade. And so we're wondering, okay, if we're in sixth grade and it took this long to actually tell us that she didn't make it or she didn't learn some of the items, where was the um, staff to help her in this process? And so internally, she's doing really well because she had to start over from Spanish 1 to take, go up to Spanish 3 when she should be, completely in immersion program doing really well. So I'm trying to figure out, and I know that you've already done evaluation for two-way immersion, but I really think that there should be some type of extra staff that possibly could help um, students who are really, Spanish is not their first language, and just getting more tutoring on the side or whatever. Um, and not even that, but dealing with the English and um, the math classes as well, because those are the ones that they're really doing the teaching in. Um, so I just want to bring that up to figure out how we can be more supportive for the students who are doing two-way immersion programs. That way, when they get to the immersion program in the middle school, that they already have the support that they can sustain themselves to continue to flourish within those classes. And then another thing that I want to bring up is thank you for adding the test information into Parent View.
Sorry, that
It's
took
so
me.
crazy that um, to this day, I didn't even know that parents were even getting test information. And one of the things that we really learned with the tutor that has helped my daughter is she needed more experience with learning how to pick out information from word problems, and how to put the information together to solve the word problems. And so I think that was another thing where I see is lacking in the elementary schools where students are not getting that, retraining, rethinking all the information for word problems, especially when it comes to the state assessment, because they are word problem heavy.
Gosh, I've got one question to ask you, and then a couple of thoughts to share, and then something else that just popped into my mind that I think is going to be a concern that I want to elevate for everybody. Um, First things first, back to your two-way immersion comments. I'm super curious. If you, and this may be personal and you don't have to answer it obviously, but if you could go back in time, would you do it all over again with your kid, or would you pick another path and do something else?
Um, I think I would still continue for her
Yep.
um,
Still worth it,
to
even
do
though
it.
it's pain points. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think for me, I wouldn't have known that she needed more time or tutoring
Right.
until we got into a conversation with the counselors and her Spanish teacher and them letting me know that, hey, your student is not up to par of where they need to be. And so
Still
that
long.
kind of shook me back like, hey, okay, well, what happened in first and third grade? Like, what happened? Like, I never got any notices, no conferences to say, hey, your student, is lacking. Maybe she need extra help. So that would have been,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so sorry that it took us so long to get the testing piece online. That there's no, we should have had that up a long time ago. But thank you for thanking us. We're a little late to the party with that. But I appreciate that for sure. I will say this, um, MCPS for a really long time hasn't really been focused on or paying attention to the state assessments. We are probably paying a lot more attention to the state assessments because it is how we are being measured by the state, and it does actually impact other things. So we are a little bit more attentive to it than we may have been over the past several years. So I think you're going to see not necessarily teaching to the test per se, but us trying to have a better understanding of how our kids are really performing. And so when we communicate with parents, you at least have a better understanding of how your kid is performing and how that lines up with their work. I got to tell you, it makes me really nervous looking at some of our state assessment performance because I think our kids are doing some pretty extraordinary things on one hand, and then I see how the performance report comes out, and it just some things aren't lining up. So again, Ashley, thank you so much for taking the time. I do want to go to one more hand up before we take questions in the chat for offline, and then we'll do our best to answer, or ideas that you can drop in the chat, comments that you want to drop in the chat. Something that for those of you who don't know me very well, I think it's really important to make sure that that folks can see all the stuff that we talk about. So we record our meetings and we put them on our school system website. When we collect comments from the chat, if we've got responses, we put them up as well as the comments from the chat so that everyone can kind of see what we talked about. I know it kind of takes the surprise out of some of the things that we say and do, because we try to incorporate a lot of feedback. But at the same time, hopefully you see that your voice is heard, and that your ideas are taken seriously, because they are taken seriously. Your lived experience is what should be shaping the next steps of the school district. And so just thank you for that. And so, Chris, do we have one more person with their hand up?
We do. Alex has been very patient, and I'd like
Okay,
an
Alex.
opportunity. Yeah.
Patient Alex with the adorable kid in his picture.
Thanks. You might hear her in the background.
All right,
It's
very
still
good.
wet. But hey, I want to echo what everyone else was saying. Just thank you very much for doing this. I know it's not easy on your end.
Oh, it's
Um,
good. We're excited.
I wanted to just ask, so I know last year MCPS scrapped the bus tracking app, and I wanted to see if there's any interest in picking that back up. I know that there was some privacy concerns, but as my kid's in one of the immersion programs, and so she's got a 45-minute bike or a bus ride every day, and it would make it a lot easier if we knew exactly when the bus was going to get here.
Alex, you're my hero. I'm actually a big fan of the bus app. I know that my transportation team probably isn't, but I also don't think that they're on tonight's webinar. So looks like you win the day on that one. I've had great experiences with bus apps in other places where I've been the superintendent, and I'll tell you where the pain point is. It's not with privacy. The pain point historically is when there's a substitute bus driver, and making sure that there's somebody keying in the right code for the substitute bus and the substitute bus driver to cover your route. I'm just going to tell you right now, there are hiccups and inconsistencies with that, but on the whole, 95 out of 100 days, it's spectacular. And as the dad of 5, I'm going to tell you that 4 of my kids benefited from the bus app, and it was awesome. So I have great interest in it. I'm hoping to see it, if not in this upcoming budget cycle and a budget cycle soon to come, because I do think that it's that kind of advantage that does help our parents with planning. And even when you got messy weather today, and thanks for indulging our 2-hour delay this morning. I know it was a pain for everybody, but it does help. And I know that there's a suggestion that just popped up in the chat of putting a GPS tag in your kid's backpack. That's great for a lot of folks too. But if we can solve that problem from a district level, we like to do that too. So thank you for the great suggestion, Alex. You're my hero today. And my transportation team, I can confidently go back to them and say that we've had, great public support for the bus app.
Cool. Thank you. And if you do need us to, do one of those phone call campaigns
Yeah.
where we have 1,000 people call, yeah, just let me know.
Please don't.
Thank you again.
No, appreciate it. Folks, I just want to appreciate you for taking a little bit of family time away to talk with us tonight. Even if you didn't get a chance to chime in online and say something, I hope you'll take a second. We're going to leave the chat open for another couple minutes. If you'd like to share a comment, an idea, a suggestion, or a question, to please drop it in the chat, and we'll close out. And just know that I really appreciate your time and attention this evening. And I hope you heard some great things from some of your neighbors in Montgomery County. One of the things I absolutely love about Montgomery County is our shared experience in the county. You can be in Gaithersburg or Damascus or Wheaton or Silver Spring, or all points in between, and we still have the same shared experience of living in this great county and sending our kids to MCPS and getting the benefits of that. We're not a perfect school system. We have a lot of room for improvement. And just know that we're committed to trying to make that improvement real, so that your kids have a better experience and that your experience as a parent is one that is supported along the way. So thank you so much. I hope that we don't have any inclement weather anytime soon. Although if we do, we'll be sure to drop a funny video for you and your kids to enjoy along the way. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a lovely evening and good night.